The A-Class locomotive from Irish Railway Models has been one of the most anticipated Irish models of recent times, and is also significant in that it's the first locomotive to arrive from IRM and should provide a preview as to what we can expect from the upcoming Accurascale releases. I've had an opportunity to put 8 different variants of this model through their paces, so it's time to take a closer look. Hi, thanks for joining today's review. We'll kick off with a short unboxing of one of the models, followed by a close-up view of one of the key variants, both of the Crossley version and of the full EMD version. We'll then do a running session for one of the EMD equipped locomotives with sound enabled, as well as a running session of one of the Crossley variants without sound. We'll then get into the summary, scoring and final recommendations. I'll be covering the Silver A1 special edition in a separate video, so watch for that in the near future. Okay, let's get underway. Hi, so here we are at the unboxing. So I think the first comment to make on the packaging is it's coming in this nice solid cardboard box with an outer sleeve, which is great. So this which helps protect the integrity of the box. So very nice to have that, and I think for people who are collectors, that's something nice to have. I think physically the box is very large. I think we'll see why when we get into it. But well done from, I think, IRM. I think this is a nice looking box. So let's get the box open and get inside. So the model we're looking at here is the 054. The running number 054, which is in the Irish Rail orange, black and white. It's quite a popular model. Okay, so let's get this out of the box and we'll take a closer look. Okay, we've got the top cover off, and I suppose the first thing we see here is the kind of usual documentation sheets that you get with it. So this is just talking about Irish Railway Models and the Class A. There's a kind of a full kind of blowout there of all the piece parts, and it's got part numbers against them here, which I assume means you can get these for spares, etc. Which is great. So nice to see that. And then talks a little bit about lubrication, maintenance, that kind of general thing, which is again great. Typically what you'll see. So a slightly larger sheet than you'd normally get, and then I think you get this very nice. This nice little booklet here, which is great, talking about the Class A, and gives a little bit of a history here, which is fantastic. So really nice to see this. Talks about Oliver Bullied, which is great. So a very nice little informative booklet, and then talks about the actual the DCC sound functions as well here. Okay, so that's great to see. Now this does come DCC ready. It doesn't have a decoder installed out of the box, but so very nice little booklet. I'm going to read that later on, and great to see that. So take the top off here. I suppose my first impression on the packaging is it's kind of very like the Dapple packaging, which I like an awful lot and I rate highly. You've got this really solid surround piece of foam here, and we're going to take this guy out of the middle, and he's held in fairly strongly, I'll say that. So let's get this guy out. And you get the ice cube type effect here, which is kind of holding the model in place in all kind of directions. Now, I suppose the only thing that's kind of missing, which I've seen on the Dapples, is some additional protection at the ends here. Now, this is probably, we'll weigh this in, that it is a heavy enough locomotive, though probably not as heavy as some of the biggest Helgian type locomotives, etc. So I suppose that's the only thing it's missing, is perhaps that extra protection, but this is really strong, so I'm pretty confident this is going to do its job, you know, in transit. So very good there. So let's take this guy off, and even just now I can kind of see the sort of fantastic detail here. There's a little detailing kit, which like to see, so great to get that. It's got couplers in there, a few little parts. I see horns in there, a little grating in there, etc. So we can take a look at that later. Now let's get into the locomotive itself. So quite a big, so it's got a lot of these little bits of rubber tabbing around the place to give extra protection. See them up at the top here, to give extra protection to the model. And it's got an extra kind of protective sleeve on it as well. This actually looks absolutely stunning. So nice little bit of weight now that I take it out. So I'll take the protective sleeve off. And my goodness, this actually looks better than the photographs, if that's possible. Let's take a look at the front end there. If we get that on the, hopefully that's fully in focus. Absolutely brilliant. The cab area, the detail, all the front end of the locomotive. This has got the day glow panels as well, obviously. It's one of the most popular locomotives. We've got our sprung buffers as we would expect to see. It has rotating axle boxes, so we'll get to see that a little bit. But this is truly a spectacular looking model. Very, very nice looking model indeed. It's got the handrails on there. Now it does have lighting in the engine room area. We'll get to see that later on. We will be putting a decoder in this and running it. So you kind of got the pre-fitted detail at the front, and you've got a coupler pre-installed on the back there. So there's tremendous detail all over the model. I can safely say. There's a nice grille there, very nice grille. So really nice, and you've got sprung buffers again at the back. So overall, tremendous looking, and I think it's great to see this in all its glory. And there's a lot of detail on the bogies there. As you can see, the little step ladders. We'll do a full 360 view on this and get a proper look at it. So picked up a little bit of oil there. So yeah, there's a little bit of oil underneath. So I'll just clean that off the body later on for the photos. Very nice on the roof. You can see the venting there with the fan detail, and it's kind of nice painted fan, like it's got the silver effect or metal effect on the fan inside there. So that's really good as well. So all in all, a very nice looking model. It's great to see it in all its glory, and we'll certainly look to do a close-up view of this now. Okay, so now we're getting into the side-on view, and I think you can get an appreciation for the really nice livery here. A lot of the very detailed underbody bogie detail there that you can see. We've got the engine portholes there, and there's actually lighting in those. That's an added feature in the locomotive. Again, you see some of the underbody detail, the tanks, and then the rear bogie. The warning labels, the fuel cap there. Nice detail on the roof, and obviously that whole roof panel comes off. That's how you actually add the DCC function to it. We've got the nice grille at this end of the locomotive, and again we've got the handrails, separately fitted handrails. It's very nice glazing and a huge amount of detail in the cab area, and we'll take a little bit of a look at that later on. But really excellent level of detail on this model. It's a very nice fan on the top there, and you get to see that a bit more now on this view. With the actual blades of the fan have been called out in a kind of metallic paint, which is nice. Got the air horns on top then, and you've also got spares in the detailing kit, which is great. So this is the very last instantiation of this particular locomotive in terms of its operating on the railways. This was the last livery it would have been in, and obviously it has the upgraded engine. It's got the headlights there. So those headlights again are working as cab lights as well. This gives you hopefully a good view, round circle view of this really magnificent looking locomotive. It's really stunning. So we're going to take quick views of some of the others. A46 here in this green livery with the stripe and the Flying Snail logo. And a very nice livery. It actually matches the kind of UK Southern Railway livery, so I'll be using some of that stock in some videos in the future. Black and tan livery here with the CIE logo at the side here. And this is upgraded, so the R indicating that this has been kind of refitted with the Crossley engine. And it's got the headlights added, etc. So really nice detail, very nice rendition of a black and tan locomotive, the 839R. A42, again, this is a Crossley-based locomotive without the headlights. I think the striking aspect of this particular locomotive is the colour. It just, when you take it out of the box, it just kind of hits you. It's quite bright, but a very nice locomotive. I suppose a little bit of weathering might bring this in line with what you see in the old photographs. And again, another one of the Irish Rail liveries here. And this one is without the day glow panels this time, 17. And say it's got all the latest kit on it, and again a very nice rendition of the Irish Rail livery for this particular locomotive. Next one is the Super Train livery, again fully upgraded, and it got all the latest spec. It's got the staff catchers as well there, and again all the various attributes that you'd expect of the updated versions of the A-Class, and a very nice Super Train livery there. And another one of the black and tans. This one, the difference here is it's got the kind of narrower orange band there on the bottom than the 839R. But again, this one has been fully updated and retrofitted with the new EMD motor, etc., and the headlights. And again, a very nice livery there in black and tan. Okay, so now we're going to get into the running session. So we're kicking off here with 054, which is EMD based, and this does have the sound module installed. Now there's a full running session of this available separately, so that has all of the startup sounds and the station announcement, etc. So if you want to take a look at that, I'll have a link in the description. You can check that out and get a better feel for the broader range of sounds available. We're running here with some Super Train stock, Mark II 2D stock, and we'll get up to kind of a mid-speed pretty quickly. Now these are really powerful engines, so you know, these could pull significant rakes. I think I saw numbers that IRM had done some testing with like 23 coaches or something like that. I don't doubt it, because these are powerful locomotives, and their performance isn't impacted by any sort of reasonable load, so you won't see any kind of impact to either the crawl performance or the high-speed performance, you know, with the 10-car rake or anything like that. So these are really good performers from that perspective. So just bringing it through its paces, we'll rack it up to the kind of top speed. In the course of this running session, we run it up to a scale speed of 85 miles per hour, which would be kind of on the high side. I think there was some models of this that would have been tuned up to that level. Typically the top speed would have been around the 75 mark, but we just kind of get it up to the, let's say, 85 to kind of give it a good run, a good shakedown. The motor itself can go beyond that, so my CV settings for the max speed were probably tuned down a little bit. I think that I was running with about 180 to 200 for that. So there is headroom there. You can run these faster, but obviously that wouldn't be prototypical. So we'll start slowing down now, and we'll kind of get to see how this guy goes. I think overall the sounds are very good. It's a nice sound decoder, a good impact to the speaker. I think it probably misses a little bit on the bass side. It's probably my only comment, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on. But overall, very satisfying running session. These locomotives are lovely to run. They're very enjoyable because their responsiveness. So whether you're running with sound or not, or whether you're running DCC or just a standard DC, you know, you get great fun with these locomotives because they're just so good and the performance is so good. So it's great to have this kind of quality of running performance. So we're going to bring it into a slow stop now. So we'll get down to a slow speed here, and we'll just You can see the flange squeal is enabled, so that kicks in at a kind of sub 10 miles per hour level, and we'll just bring her to a very gradual halt. And you know, she can do a good crawl. I would say that Murphy Models locomotives can probably do a slightly better crawl at a really low setting on your power controller. This one probably has a notch or two higher, but it's really good performance, as you can see it here. So no issue, I think, on the performance front. We've no sound on this one. We're running with A46. Running with some Bachmann, Murphy Models Bachmann coaches. These were the coaches, 57-foot coaches that would have been with the Bachmann Irish Railway train, and were also available separately. So some people have these, so they're something you can potentially dust down and use here. There isn't a fantastic colour match with this particular locomotive. There's actually a better colour match with the Southern Railways rolling stock, and I do have some of that now. I will be running that with A1 actually, and that actually is a pretty good match to the livery on this locomotive. And you'll see that kind of car at the end, which is a Southern car actually, that four-wheel van at the very end there, which is kind of playing the role of a heating van. That is a pretty good colour match. You can kind of see that. So again, you know, fantastic performance. A different style of train, obviously, with quite a different looking locomotive. And I think this is one of the amazing things about the A-Class, is they can look so different. When you look at the old Crossley versions, the silver version, or this particular model here, it just looks like a totally different locomotive to the Irish Rail liveried versions with their headlights and different patterns, different livery pattern on them. They just look so different, but it's fundamentally the same locomotive, which is so interesting. It kind of shows you it spanned this 40-year lifespan. So just putting this guy through his paces, and again, you know, it's the same level of performance, ultra smooth, you know, fantastic pulling power. It's really all down to the livery here. I think as soon as I do get the Crossley decoder, sound decoder, I'll crank out a few running session videos with that. I'm really looking forward to hearing what that sounds like. The older engine did run slower, so I'm at this running session here. I think I only ran this up to a scale speed of 60 miles per hour. That's partly due to the rolling stock as well, which wouldn't be able to go at any kind of very high speed. And again, bringing it to a nice slow stop. And you know, again, really enjoyed running with this one. Okay, so this is just a summary of the overall range of the locomotives, A-Class locomotives from Irish Railway Models. Apologies, it is quite a detailed slide, but it just, I suppose, gives a view of the entire range in one view, and it splits between the Crossley engine type and the EMD engine type, and has the relevant sound decoders captured in there as well. So it's a good reference if you want to see which sound decoder you need for which locomotive. So we've got two instances of the silver livery, two different green liveries. We've got the black livery and also the black with the yellow panel. We've got black and tan, and there's the kind of standard black and tan, and one with the kind of narrow band, which is the A23R. We've got the super train, got the Irish Rail super train, and the Irish Rail, and then the Irish Rail with the day globe panels. We also have the A3R, which has been added into this as well, which was a late addition to the set. So just a summary slide to give you a view of the whole range, and something you can go back to reference. Okay, so let's get into the summary of the IRM A-Class overall range, and these are the kind of common characteristics across all of the locomotives. They come with a 5-pole motor with 2 flywheels and a metal helical gearbox for optimum performance. They come in a DCC ready form with stay alive capacitors pre-fitted. They include both an EM1 and Sugar Cube speaker pre-fitted. There's a full lighting set with these locomotives, which includes directional lighting, the high beam headlighting, that's only on the EMD versions, cab lighting and engine bay lighting. They do provide provision for re-gauging to 21mm. They come with rotating axle block hubs with alternate covers for the earlier versions, and they all come with fully sprung metal buffers. There's an awful lot of extra fine factory fitted pipework and plastic etched parts on these models, and they do vary based on the different model type. So probably some of the models will have more detail, other models will have less detail in certain areas. The full details for each model are called out on the IRM website. They run on a radius 2 curve, and they've got a maximum scale speed of 130 kilometers per hour. The unboxed weight is 508 grams, and the retail selling price is €189.95. It's typically if you're purchasing from any of the Irish resellers or from Irish Railway Models themselves, or €169.95 from the UK. So now we get into the scoring. So in terms of the running performance, the combination of the all-wheel drive, the flywheels and the stay-alive capacitors make this model a really smooth runner, on a par with effectively the Murphy models, Class 141 and Class 071, which I would have considered as probably the best-in-class running models that you can get. I think the Murphy models probably have a little bit better at the micro low-end super crawl level. They don't have the stay-alive capacitors, so it's a much between the two. All superb performers, and I'm giving a 10 out of 10 for performance on this model. Appearance and detail are absolutely excellent, and these are perfectly rendered liveries. There's a myriad of separately fitted parts. Really, in general, IRM have done a fantastic job in recreating each of the different variants of the A-Class across the different timeframes and the Crossley versions and the EMD versions. So this is the most detailed Irish Railway model, ready-to-run model that you can buy today. And again, I'm giving a 10 out of 10 on appearance for that. A lot of attention was given to the sound on this model, with both the EM1 and the Sugar Cube speakers being pre-installed, and the very easy access to add your decoder, etc., really making it a very easy model to upgrade, or even just to add standard DCC to. The sound files for the model are good, and it's nice to have things like the configurable station announcements, which is something I'm starting to see on some of the UK models now. My only criticism, I guess, of the sound is that it seems to be the Sugar Cube speaker. It appears to be dominating the generation of the sound, as opposed to the EM1 speaker, which would give you a better bass response. Roads&Rails have kind of done a video of taking the Sugar Cube out of the picture and connecting up directly to the EM1 on its own, and that appears to give a better overall sound. Sound tends to be a kind of subjective thing. I would probably agree that the Roads&Rails modification probably has improved the sound somewhat, because the Sugar Cube does have limitations, I would say, on the bass side. So I'm giving a 9 for the sound, which is a very strong score. We'll include a link in the description to the Roads&Rails video if you want to take a look at that and check it out and make the modification yourself. The other point I want to make is that I'm only able to assess the EMD sound variant here. Unfortunately, the Crossley variant is not available due to the travel restrictions associated with the pandemic, but we do look forward to getting that, and as soon as that does arrive, I will do some running sessions and videos on with that particular sound variant in place. So overall, sound is very strong, probably a little bit of room for optimization, and hence it's a 9 out of 10, but still very good overall. In terms of extra features and variants, this model does have a really comprehensive lighting package across all the different variants, and I think that's probably, well, certainly the best we've seen on any Irish railway model, including things like the cab lighting and the engine lighting, for example. The cab lighting, which is not directional, it comes on for both ends when you turn on the cab lighting, and there is a potential mod to change that to directional. And again, there's the Roads&Rails guys seem to be busy doing some mods on this as well, and I'll include again a reference to that in the description, so check that out if you want to look at that. Personally, I'm happy enough with what you get out of the box, so I'm going to run with that, but some people may like to have directional control on the cab lighting, and there's a mod you can do to get to that. A couple of things, I think, overall, as I said, the level of variance is fantastic. Probably the only gap is, our main gap, I suppose, that people have highlighted is a Northern Ireland variant. I guess that's something we might see in the future if there's a rerun done. So people are certainly looking for that. And the only other one from me is the lack of a pre-fitted driver. Now, the addition of a driver is very straightforward. It's very easy to remove the top body once you take off the cover. You now have access to 4 screws, and those screws allow you to take off the top body, and that gives you access to the cab areas. I do like the pre-fitted driver, though, on the Bachmann models, because just sourcing a driver is just time-consuming. That can be hard to get. And also in the case of the A-Class, because you're spanning 40 years of time, the drivers would actually be different in terms of the actual the attire, etc., and uniforms. So it would have been great to be able to actually get a driver suitable for the period of the locomotive with the locomotive. Whether it was even fitted or not, to actually get it would be nice. So overall, I'm giving a 9.5 on the extras, just for those two items that I think we'd like to see in the future. Certainly a lot of people looking for the Northern Ireland variant. I'm certainly a fan of drivers. I don't like driverless locomotives, to be honest. There's too many of them on the tracks these days. So but 9.5 is a really high score and a fantastic set of variants coming from IRM here. So very, very pleased with that. The next thing is the packaging. So the packaging, I think, is really good. It's on a par with the Dapol packaging, which I would rate as kind of the best in class. The one thing it misses is the kind of polystyrene end pieces that's on the Dapol packaging. Now, I think this weighs in at 500 grams, so it's not excessive. It's a heavy enough locomotive, but it's not excessively heavy. And I think if it was a heavier locomotive, like 600-700 grams, then I think you do need those end polystyrene pieces. So I think it's fine. I think the packaging for me out of the score here is a 5 out of 5 out of this part of the score, and it sits up there now with the best in class packaging that's out there for models. The overall quality is superb and consistent across the 8 models I tested. My only gripe is that half of my 8 models did show some audible catching of the bogies with underbody detail when transitioning from curves to straights. It occurs on my radius 3 curves, and on radius 4 curves I still see it, though at a reduced level, and 2 of the models no longer show the problem on radius 4 curves. It primarily affects the locomotive travelling in the forward direction, and I've seen a lower occurrence in the reverse. I have been sharing my findings with the good folks at IRM, and they're investigating the problem right now, so we don't have any conclusion to report at this point in time. If this was a one-off, I think I could dismiss it, but as it has occurred on 4 of the 8 models, I do need to dock a point for quality on this, as it does look like a tolerance issue in terms of perhaps some clearance, height clearance. When the final conclusion is found, I will share this with the team and I will adjust my scoring if appropriate. It's important to note that this doesn't impact the actual running performance of the locomotive at any speed. It's more of an inaudible annoyance, and I suppose once you do hear it for a particular locomotive, you'll continue to hear it when that clicking sound as the locomotive goes around your layout. So it is an annoyance. So I do have a request here. If you are an owner of one of the A-Class models and you have had a chance to run it on your layout, if you could share in the comments what you found. Have you seen this type of issue at all, or is it running really cleanly for you? Please share in the comments. I would be interested to get some feedback from people who have the locomotive actually running on their layouts now. And is anybody else seeing this, or am I just particularly unlucky with some of the models that I have? Next one then is in terms of overall value for money. I think the price in 2021 for this model is spot on. I won't say it's cheap, because you're paying £170 for this model, 190 euros. So it's not particularly cheap, but you're paying for a really high quality model. You're getting an awful lot for your money in terms of the detail, the performance, the authenticity of the model. So I think for what you're getting, I think it's a very good price. I think you would easily be paying an extra 20 or 30% for this in 2021. So I'm giving a 9 out of 10 for the price. I think it's a very attractive price overall, and I think it is very good value for money, and I would highly recommend this model as a result. So let's getting into the final recommendation. I guess in terms of the overall scoring, this is the highest scoring model I've ever reviewed. So in terms of all the aspects of the model, this is the best scoring model. So that's the first thing out the gate. So straight away, I think this is a credit to Irish Railway Models. They've moved the bar for Irish Railway modelling with this particular model. The level of detail is the best in class for any Irish models. It's got the best lighting of any Irish models. I think it's got equivalent to the best performance of any Irish models. It's got the best sound support, best packaging, and it's got some extra nice touches like the informative booklet that's included. So overall, a very nice offering for the price. I think the level of variance is comprehensive. I know we're missing a Northern Ireland variant, probably one or two others that people might call out. I think the Northern Irish one is probably the main one. But I think overall it is covering 40 years of this particular locomotive very effectively and very good. And the A1, which I'll cover in another video, I was kind of surprised how much I like that model actually. I would never have remembered it on the tracks. but I really liked it actually, and I covered that in a separate video. The only unfortunate thing for most people is that a lot of the most popular liveries have sold out on pre-order. But my advice to you is, if you are an Irish modeller, find some way of getting one of these models onto your layout. There will likely be a rerun of these, but IRM have said that they're not going to rerun the same numbers. So they will be running, if they do a rerun, it'll be with new variants. So this is the only chance you're going to get the particular models that are on the market at the moment. So I realize, a Crossley version of this mightn't quite fit your layout, or one of the super train versions that are still available with the IR livery. I would say highly recommend that you find a way of getting one of these. If you're an Irish modeller, this is a must-own. You must get one of these, and you should get it now when you can get it for a good price, because these are only going to get more expensive, and God knows what the price of these for the second-hand market will be. So, strong advice. This is a must-own. If you're not an Irish modeller and you just like your trains and you like good models, well then it might be worth taking a look at one of these. This might get you into Irish modelling. So I think, in summary, the attention to detail is very commendable from Irish Railway Models. They've produced us a fantastic set of models here in the A-Class, and they've had to do it through a very challenging period with the pandemic, but I think they've done an excellent job. And I think it gives a fantastic lift, I suppose, and anticipation now for things like the UK Class 37, Class 55 and Class 92 that will all be coming out over the next 12 months. They should be spectacular models in their own right. Really looking forward to those. I have pre-orders for every one of those, so I will be covering those in reviews in the future. An excellent model, highly recommended, must own for Irish modelers. Even if you don't model the era of some of the older models here, I think just find a way of getting one of these models, because they're well worth having. Okay, I would be interested, as I say, in people's own feedback with these models, the running performance aspects. A lot of people just look at them physically and they look absolutely fantastic. But obviously running them on your layout is the acid test. So I would be interested in any comments and feedback people have on that. Please let me know. Okay, thanks again for joining today's extended review, the longer review than usual. We are covering a range of models here and a fantastic range as well. So I look forward to seeing you on the next review. And in the meantime, happy modelling.